And I'm Marshall, and this is Twin Cinema.
Alright, so we're going to be doing our second video in the North Pole Dancers. On this one, we're going to be comparing the movies side by side, Striptease and Showgirls.
Yeah. If you want to see our individual reviews of the films, you can go here. But if you are familiar with the films and you just want to hear us compare the two, you can just watch this video. So, but yeah, it's kind of interesting how these two films compare, especially in the terms of kind of being a so bad it's good camp classic. Both films are, especially when they were released, were definitely not treated well by critics or audiences. They both seen as bad, but Showgirls has this new life now where it's seen as like this cult camp classic, where Striptease is just kind of in the dustbin of history. No one really even thinks about it. And, you know, it's very interesting to think about why both of these bad movies would, you know, have such a different life after their initial release.
Yeah, and I think what would be best is if we let the words of Susan Sontag speak to that. She wrote one of the most important essays on the subject of campiness, Notes on Camp, and here's what she had to say about why something is considered camp when other things are not.
In naive, or pure camp, the essential element is seriousness, a seriousness that fails. Of course, not all seriousness that fails can be redeemed as camp, only that which has the proper mixture of the exaggerated, the fantastic, the passionate, and the naive. When something is just bad, rather than camp, it is often because it is too mediocre in its ambition. The artist hasn't attempted to do anything really outlandish. Camp is art that proposes itself seriously, but cannot be taken altogether seriously because it is too much.
Yeah, so when Sontag is talking about, something being so mediocre and that's why it can be considered campy even though it's bad, I really feel like that is describing Striptease to a T.
Oh yeah, like it tries to be over the top with like the weird side character subplots, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't explore them in any depth. And the direction and the acting is a bit too subtle for it. Like, you can tell they're trying to be wacky, but it doesn't really go anywhere. Whereas in Showgirls, everything is over the top.
Thrust it! Thrust it! Thrust it! Come on, thrust it! Okay.
And not only is everything over the top in the bad sense with the acting and the melodramatic story, like the good stuff, like the cinematography, is just phenomenal. Whereas the good stuff in Striptease is just competent.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest reasons why one is camp and the other isn't really has to do with the actors. Mm-hmm. Most specifically, the main actresses, but also they're sort of, I guess you'd say, antagonists of both films. Senator Dilbeck in Striptease and Crystal Connors in Showgirls. So let's look at the main actresses. You have two actresses who are like in completely different parts of their career. You have Elizabeth Berkley, who is like trying to break out of being typecast as, this like teenage, like teen sitcom star. And then you have Demi Moore, who's like, at this point, a very accomplished actress, pretty much A-list. And I feel like you can definitely tell where they're on their careers based on the way they portray this.
Oh, totally. Elizabeth Berkley is hungry in this role. She's putting everything into it. And it works and it doesn't. Like, who really goes different places?
From where, Becky? Different places.
Or, can say, like, I like having nice tits.
You have great tits. They're really beautiful.
Thank you.
I like nice tits. I always have. How about you?
I like having nice tits.
In a straight face, but Elizabeth Berkley embodies Nomi Malone in a way that Demi Moore doesn't embody Aaron. Now, of course, Aaron's an everyman where Nomi is this just out there character.
But isn't that the biggest irony? That when Elizabeth Berkley is specifically trying to like escape this idea of playing a teenager by playing this, really adult role, and she acts like a teenager. So it's like, I'm a real actress. But watch me like play the same kind of emotional range as I had before, just in a film of nudity. That doesn't make you a mature actress.
Basically. But it works for Showgirls and it makes Showgirls entertaining where Erin, Demi Moore's Erin is just she's just very kind of staid. She plays it safe.
Yeah, and she really goes into it. Like, she pours her heart into it. Like, she's playing this movie that, despite what we talked about with the tone, I think really the movie's supposed to be a comedy.
Oh, yeah, totally.
First and foremost. But she is really playing it like a drama. Mm-hmm. But that brings us to the next set of actors, is the supporting characters, the antagonists. Gina Gershon as Crystal, and Burt Reynolds as Senator Tilbeck. And when you compare them to the main actresses, that's where it really shines.
Oh yeah, I mean they both knew what movies they were doing, and they were a bit more experienced than their leads. I mean, Burt Reynolds obviously had been acting since the 70s, and Gina Gershon, not quite as, definitely not as esteemed as Burt Reynolds, but she's definitely been around the block a bit longer than Elizabeth Berkley has. So they know what they're in, and I feel like Burt Reynolds was the only one who knew what they were trying to go for when they were filming Striptease, because he's just nuts. And he loses himself in that role, because I didn't even realize it was Burt Reynolds until like halfway through the first time I watched it.
Yeah. And likewise, Gina Gershon in Showgirls, like, it's so funny, in the same, like, very similar to the way that Elizabeth Berkley, like, really, like, personifies and embodies Nomi Malone, Gina Gershon really embodies Crystal, because, like, whereas Nomi is really hungry and sort of, like, trying to, like, make it and prove what she is, rather than what people think she is. Crystal Connors knows the game, knows the goddess game, knows the showbiz game, and likewise, Gina Gershon's in this movie, and she knows exactly what it is. Like, those looks, I'm like, a lot of times whenever, like, Crystal is, like, given those knowing looks, I'm like, I don't even think that's Gina Gershon as Crystal. I think it's Gina Gershon to everyone else in this production.
Because Kyle MacLachlan thought they were making a serious film.
He actually, he really thought it was serious. He has this quote where he says, like, oh my god, we thought we were doing this, like, really serious film, and you go see it at the premiere, and you're like, oh, what have I done? But yeah, so, feel free, Kyle, sorry.
Yeah. We're kind of going away from that. Another thing I really wanted to compare between the two films were kind of this weird progressivism that these films had, especially in the way that they treat the dancers. Because in most movies that have, like, the stripper's a character, she's kind of just this over-sexualized caricature. And, well, there definitely is some of that in both films. I do feel like they treat strippers as people outside of their profession. Striptease a bit more than Showgirls. Showgirls is a bit more honest about being exploitative, whereas I do feel like the stripper parts are really more like a Lifetime movie than a movie about strippers. But what I really appreciate about Striptease, and I mentioned this before, was they don't shame the strippers. Like, the strippers, for the most part, there's a few, like, those stupid stripper jokes, but it's really only one throughout the entire movie. But, they're shown as intelligent, they're friendly, and they're doing honest work.
Hey, this is honest work. You have nothing to be ashamed of.
I know that, and you know that, but the judge won't.
And it's showing, like, all these people who have the respectable jobs who are the ones who are crooked.
Yeah. And, you know, Showgirls, I feel, kind of doesn't have that much. I mean, there's definitely not that much camaraderie.
Get these fucking kids out of here!
I mean, I kind of wasn't for sure. I felt like a big part of that was more a critique of, like, the idea of show business. Like, people are very two-faced. Because it wasn't just women doing that to other women. It was also, like, you know, men doing that to women. Really just women being abused by other people.
Basically. But even in Showgirls, the cheetah, the strip club, was seen as less exploitative. I mean, they have the owner who basically forces women to have sex.
I want to last longer than a week. You give me a blowjob.
But he's open and he's honest about it. Whereas when the casino people are trying to push Nomi as a prostitute, it's a boat show.
Yeah, you know, and then you have that really bizarre scene where, like, you know, Al, the cheetah owner, and Mama Bazoom come to visit her, and it's like, even though Al was awful, like, he comes to visit her, and you're supposed to, like, feel, you know, like, oh, he's a nice, caring guy, with then, like, the best line in the movie.
You take care, kid. Must be weird not having anybody come on you.
It's pretty funny. He's Showgirls nice. He's nice for the world of Showgirls.
Yeah, I guess he's nice for the world of Showgirls. I will say, so we kind of talked about how they're a little progressive, even though, like, I don't know, is it really? I don't know. Like I said, Striptease really more than Showgirls in that way of, like, showing that, you know, people who dance for a living, you know, erotic dancers are workers. They work, you know, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. You're making a living.
Totally.
Showgirls, I mean, it just kind of seems like no matter what you do in, like, entertainment, you're basically prostituting yourself in some form. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to take any lessons from that. But the one thing that really kind of I took umbrage with in both films is the way in which, like, black people are treated to just kind of be there to serve white women. Like,
yeah.
In Showgirls especially, because you have both Molly and, like, James, who are pretty much punished for, you know, whereas Nomi gets off scot-free, like, you know, Molly is, like, brutally, you know, raped and, like, beaten up, and James, like, loses, like, 2 jobs because of her, and, like,
he's never gonna become, like,
and so
dancer.
Yeah, so it's like they just, you know, both of those characters kind of just exist to help Nomi whenever she needs help.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in Striptease, the bouncer, at least his relationship with Aaron, like, seemed organic.
It's organic. I mean, I think with him, it might have just been, like, a coincidence. Like, they just wanted a big actor. And that was just who they picked. I mean, even with Showgirls, even though they're both black, like, in both of those movies, their race isn't really ever brought up.
Yeah, but still you have to say, like, they're the only characters who really have anything traumatic happen. Mm-hmm. And then, but again, because it's, like, Showgirls, and is it that meta commentary or not? Is it to say, like, look in the way in which, like, you're protected if you're white and pretty, or white and have money?
Yeah.
You know? So, like, is it just, you know, taking that stereotypical view, or is it trying to comment on it? But it's Showgirls, so it kind of fails. If it's commentary, it kind of fails, but...
Well, there is one thing that they definitely were progressive. Both movies were progressive about, having Rena Riffel.
Oh my gosh, yes. She is wonderful in both films.
Yes.
As Penny, or what was her
name?
I don't remember her name in Striptease. She, like, barely has any lines.
Yeah.
Get some manners, mister.
She has much more of a presence in Showgirls, but she's in both.
Yeah.
She really got on that, and she directed a sequel to Showgirls,
Yeah, Pennies from Heaven,
which seems to be kind of hard to find now. So
yeah,
maybe if we can get our hands on a copy, we'll review that one sometime.
Yeah, maybe sequel month or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that is our review of Showgirls and Striptease. We hope you guys enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure you like and subscribe to our videos and check out our Facebook page and all that good stuff, as well as our our affiliated podcasts, The Alcohol Hollywood On Tap and Alcohol Hollywood Regular.
Yep.
So, what are we doing for next month in January?
Well, next month and next year, we're doing January. So, if you want to know what that means, just stay tuned.
Excellent. Well, everyone, we hope you have a very happy holiday, whatever you celebrate, and a very happy and healthy New Year.
Yes, stay safe this holiday season, and we hope to see you soon.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.